Hello, friends. It's Katie back with another episode of my vlog. And today I want to talk about notebooks. And I specifically want to talk about how to start a new notebook when you're feeling intimidated by that blank notebook. And that's kind of a weird thing to say, but well, if you guys have been following my vlog for a while, you know I'm a notebook person. This is 4 of my current notebooks, and there's more than this. And so because I am a notebook person and I like to put my thoughts down in my notebooks and I collect notebooks, I also hang out in a lot of notebook-oriented online spaces. So places for people who like fountain pens or notebooks or bullet journaling or whatever. And this thing comes up over and over again in these spaces where people talk about buying journals and then not using them because they feel like they're too nice to use. Let's talk about that for a second, right? You bought a journal or a notebook with the intention of using it, with the intention of filling it up with writing or drawing or whatever it is you want to put in that notebook. But then you're judging yourself as a creator and saying, I'm not worthy of this notebook that I bought, which is a really strange mentality to me because, again, the reason why you supposedly bought the notebook was to use it. But I also understand where this comes from. It's the same as the fear of the blank page or the fear of the blank canvas that people get, where there's a nervousness about making that first mark because you don't want to wreck the canvas or the paper or the journal, right? But again, the whole point of using the canvas or the paper or the journal is to do some mark making, whether that's, again, writing or drawing or whatever it is you're doing. Sitting there feeling intimidated about a blank page is exactly what you're not supposed to be doing with these things. And of course, a lot of this comes from this sort of place of wanting everything you do to be perfect. I put that in scare quotes because we're human beings. I mean, at least I'm assuming you're a human if you're watching this. I don't know, you might be an alien or a robot or a dog or something, but I'm assuming most of my audience is humans. And as humans, it's pretty much impossible to be perfect. There's always something going to go sideways or mess you up somehow. And I think for people with perfectionist tendencies, which I myself used to be one, I sometimes refer to myself as a recovering perfectionist, it can be really hard because it can be really hard to start things when you feel like, oh, I just don't know what the right move is to do first, or I'm feeling afraid that I'm going to do something wrong. Again, I'm putting wrong in scare quotes because it's your journal, it's your canvas, it's your piece of paper. There isn't a wrong here. In fact, I would say the only way to use a notebook wrong is to not use it at all, which is what the people who are too afraid to use their notebooks are doing. They're using their notebook all wrong. And literally any mark that you put in your notebook is a correct use of a notebook, whereas letting it sit on the shelf and gather dust because you think it's too nice is an incorrect use of your notebook. So my philosophy is if you're afraid of wrecking your journal, just go ahead and wreck your journal. Go ahead and open it up and make some marks that don't mean anything, that aren't supposed to be some big masterpiece or, your greatest, poem that you've ever written or the best journal entry or whatever. Just open that journal or approach that blank page or that blank canvas or whatever, and do something. And it doesn't really matter what you do because the first thing you do is gonna kind of be, well, whatever. But the whole point is that you take that first step and you make a mark and you get going and then you keep going. And as you keep going, the stuff that you're putting in hopefully gets better. And even as an experienced artist who's, pretty confident and has things turn out the way I think they're going to turn out most of the time, it's not like a linear progression where things just get better and better. We all have off days. We all have times when we, try to draw something one way and it's like, wow, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to. And that's okay. That's all part of the practice. That's all part of the process, right? So you just have to start. And if you go ahead and think of it as, wrecking or, as my friend Jen says, pre-disastering your journal, I think it can be helpful to get over that nervous first step. So some ideas for how to wreck your journal if you have a blank journal. I actually don't have a blank journal with me, but I do have my new sketchbook, which is new enough that it's looking like a new journal. So make a pen test page. That's the first thing I always do. I just leave the first page for any of my markers or any ink I'm going to use in the book. I've got a place where I can try it out on the paper that the book is made out of. And it's just this kind of grody, scribbly first page, but it doesn't matter. It's just the first page. You just turn it and get to the next thing. I also like to put my name and phone number and an invitation to call me if someone finds it inside of all my journals. This has come in handy exactly one time in my life, but boy, was it a lifesaver when it actually worked the way that it should have. I left my sketchbook on top of my car years ago and drove away, and someone found it and called me. So those are my two things that I always do right off the bat with my journals. But another thing you can do is just a bad drawing. I mean, you can set out to make a bad drawing or say to yourself, I'm intending for this to not be the greatest drawing. So, my drawings aren't all that, whatever, but just whatever. I was just testing out some graphite and a different crayon on this page and just drew whatever. This isn't like some, big finished piece of art, just a sketch in my sketchbook. Maybe just write out a list of ideas. Set yourself, do I have some goals for this month? Or, what are fantasy trips I'd like to take? Or here's a list of movies I'd like to see, or whatever. Just put a list in your book just to get yourself going. The whole point is to just get going, right? So maybe you don't want to draw. Maybe you feel like you can't draw. I hate that phrasing, but I get it. But there's other choices. You could do a collage with stuff you cut out of a magazine. You can use stickers. You can cut and fold and glue things into your book or tape things or whatever. Just get crazy with it. It's your book. There's no rules, actually. I would say, if you like your book to kind of stay flat like that and you have a hardback binding, maybe don't glue a ton of stuff into it, because as you glue more stuff in, your book kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger where it won't close correctly. So if that's an issue for you, maybe don't glue things into your book. But I feel like, okay, this is my sketchbook. I can do whatever I want in it. I can go totally off the rails of, the rules. Again, what are the rules for a sketchbook? Get crazy with it, go throw it in the street and run it over with your car. I mean, light it on fire. I actually brought a lighter to be like, look, you can light your notebook on fire. But James told me if I actually lit my notebook on fire in the studio, I was going to be in trouble, or I needed a fire crew here. So we'll just use that for the thumbnail on the video, and I won't actually light my notebook on fire, but maybe I'll take it outside later today and half burn one of the pages and see how it comes out. My whole point, as I've already stated, is just get started. Once you start, you're going to find your way with whatever this notebook or this project or whatever it is you're starting is. But I think with all creative endeavors, if you just sit there waiting for the perfect, moment of inspiration to strike, or, waiting and waiting until you're good enough at writing or drawing to earn using that journal, again, that's really bizarre thinking, but I do understand where it comes from. But I'm really trying to challenge you guys. If you've been thinking this way, don't. But the whole point here for me is once you start, you just keep going. And it's the act of starting and the act of making that fires up all those creative parts of the brain and gives you more ideas, and then makes you go, oh, wait, that was cool, but what if I do it this way? Oh, I could use that in this project. Oh, let me write that down. Whatever, right? You build on it, and it just keeps growing and growing, and you keep getting better and better as you are practicing anything. And a regular notebook practice is a practice just like any other. No one is good at anything at first. I mean, maybe someone has total beginner's luck, but it's fine to feel like you're sucking at something at the beginning and just keep going. And again, if you come from a place of perfectionism and you feel like, well, it's my new notebook and it looks really nice on the outside, and then you open the cover and it's the first couple pages are all junky, just keep going past those pages until you start doing pages you like, and then go ahead and cut those first pages out. They don't have to stay in your journal, or leave them there so that they're a marker or a guide to how you changed and grew as an artist or as a writer or as a journaler or whatever, however you see yourself. You're going to grow through your practice, right? So just keep going. You have to practice to get good. You have to practice to get better. And again, I hate the idea of perfectionism, so I reject the concept of practice makes perfect. Practice makes better. And we all have room to get better, right? Even the best of us. So just keep going. And it's okay to make bad work or work that you don't like, as long as you can learn from it and say, okay, that didn't work out, but now I'm going to approach this other way instead. And like I said, you can always cut things out if you don't like them. You can always go over things. I mean, I've known people who take acrylic paint and just paint over entire pages in their sketchbook and then reuse them. There's so many options for, ways you can get creative with your journal, or ways you can get into it. You just got to go, right? Right. So please join me, friends, in rejecting the concept of, I bought an art supply that's too nice for me to use, and use those art supplies that you bought. Use that cool paint that you bought for no reason. Use that cool notebook or journal or sketchbook that you bought because you liked the way the cover looked. Don't be one of these people that has a hoard of 50 unused notebooks that they feel like are too nice for them to use. I reject that idea completely. Use your art materials, do something with it, and then see where it goes from there. All right? All right. I hope I've encouraged some of you to get started on something if you've been feeling blocked or like you didn't have permission or something. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have cool creative ideas for how to jumpstart a notebook when you're feeling stuck, or what your approach is to starting a notebook. I'm always curious about what other people's approaches are, because I'm just me over here doing it my way. So, all right. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I'll be back in a few more days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, stay safe and take care out there, and I'll see you later.